And we're back. This is Elliot Serrano and Jose Melendez, joined by Avi, coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Thank you for joining us here on CCW TV for a special discussion about Iron Man 2, the long-awaited sequel that has had Fanboy Nation right now, with Iron Man 2, from what I've been seeing on the interwebs, or is it interwebs? You loved it, you hated it, and then you even had some in the middle who are like kind of meh.
I think a lot more people were meh than anything else. Yeah,
you know? And I think a lot of the derision that might be foisted on the movie is because, again, it was just so friggin' hyped. It wasn't really necessary to hype the movie that much.
Well, I think it's also people. The mad people are probably people who went to go see it, were surprised by the first movie. Were surprised by how good the first movie was.
Yes.
And then the second movie, they're like, okay, well, I know this is going to be good, so it's got to be got to surpass my expectations again.
Right.
I mean, it was more of the same. It was well done. Like, what more do you people want from this movie? I mean, it's
yeah, you got more. I mean, Iron Man 2 was essentially Iron Man 1, but with more. I mean, and I love how, and I know they're going to do this in every Iron Man movie, where Tony Stark's got to create something new, and he's going to have to do some sort of remodel of his little laboratory where he builds shit. Yeah. Be ripping stuff out, and then they ought to score it to some kind of music, like the Rocky movies. When Rocky's training.
Well, isn't he an inventor? Isn't that the whole point? Is that you want to see him invent stuff?
But I know, but it seems like it's like that. It follows that formula.
Yeah.
Am I saying it's bad? No, I'm just saying.
At the end of it, you should say groovy.
Just groovy, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, yeah, they've got to have that little bit of reminding the audience that this guy he is like putting together his own armor and blah blah blah. But I think, I don't know. I guess I think in this movie, if you like the first movie, why wouldn't you like the second movie? Unless you're expecting something completely different, which...
Well, I will say this. The first thing that kind of stood out with me, a change from the second movie to the first, I'm sorry. I know a lot of folks are going to disagree with me about this, and I know even D-Mar totally disagrees with me on this. D-Mar, I'm sorry, man, but I miss Terrence Howard. Don Cheadle just did not work for me as James Rhodes. I really liked Terrence Howard, and I think the relationship between the two would have come off completely different.
I'm going to agree with you that I think Don Cheadle is fantastic.
He is. He's a great
much
actor.
Better actor, in my opinion, than Terrence Howard. And maybe had he started from the first movie, I would not have this opinion. But I did feel that Terrence Howard had more of a chemistry than Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
Again, but the thing with Cheadle's character in this movie is that he is almost completely betraying him on every scene.
Yeah, from the very beginning of the movie where he shows up at the hearing, it's
And to me, that was the thing that kind of got me, and I really felt for Terrence Howard because this is his meat role. He gets to sit in the background through the whole first movie, kind of just establishing the character, thinking, okay,
sucking on helium balloons because his voice was like incredibly high. Really high.
All right, Tony.
It's like,
but then to come in and then Don Cheadle gets all the scenes. Again, don't get me wrong. Don Cheadle is a superior actor, or is a superb actor. He's great. I mean, I thought he was incredible in Hotel Rwanda. Again, I'm not going to fault the Ocean's movies.
Yeah, why was this movie as good as Hotel Rwanda? I don't like Iron Man movie. I don't like this Iron Man movie too. You know what? Forget it. Iron Man 2 sucked. Hotel Rwanda was a much better comic book movie.
But I really think that had Terrence Howard been sitting in that chair in the beginning of the movie, doing the whole testifying in court and all that, there would have been a different feel to the character.
Exactly, because there would have been a little bit more weight. Exactly, getting back, there would have been more weight to that scene if it was Terrence Howard, because we already seen him interact with him in the whole first movie. Right. And this is just a new actor coming in, betraying him, and it's kind of like, well, we know it's the same character, but it doesn't feel the same.
Well, plus, I always feel like Terrence Howard, in the first movie, he did a good job of being like, hey, I'm his friend, and I do have this duty to the military, but it kind of, he's torn. I didn't feel that at all with Don Cheadle's character, or Don Cheadle's version of the character, because he just felt like, there's a part where he was had a little bit of trepidation, but as soon as his commanding officer says it's an order, he was like, okay, well, nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, but it doesn't, to go the opposite as far as story-wise, when you see Tony Stark get drunk in the Iron Man suit and he's playing, skeet shoot, Gallagher and skeet shoot in the armor, you're like, fuck this! I gotta get one of these things out of here because this guy can be dangerous.
Right, and that's another thing. In that scene where he's doing like the bottle breaking, that was another opportunity to show some consequence of him acting like a jackass. Maybe having somebody get cut. Somebody,
I'm thinking because that's what I was exactly. I was thinking I'm like all these bottles are breaking and everything. I'm like, and there's nothing is hurting anybody. It's like that's kind of ridiculous.
Or maybe that the repulsors are so powerful that they get. The bottle is shattered completely in a little fine mist.
One of the hot miles should have been like, I've got glass in my eye. Or something. Something should have happened, I think.
But and then the other thing is this isn't so much of a nerd nitpick as it is after watching the first movie that this is kind of a problem. Is that so Rhodey can just pilot the Iron Man armor just by getting in it for the first time.
Right.
Well, how long did it take Tony Stark to learn?
Yeah, that's true. It did take him a while to learn.
It took him like an hour to learn how to fly that thing in the movie.
My problem not so much with that, but like, aren't all the suits designed so that the power's in his chest?
Exactly.
So how does that suit fly without there being somebody who has a reactor in his
arc light
chest?
reactor? Yeah.
Right. Well, the arc light reactor was actually in that suit, though.
Yeah, he had it in
Why
there.
Would it be in that suit?
Why wouldn't? I don't know.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, if the whole idea is that Tony Stark it's a high tech prosthesis because Tony Stark can be the only one that uses it because of this reactor. The suit shouldn't be built so there's another place to slip in another reactor. That doesn't make any sense.
The other thing too that was brought up, and it was also brought up on the blog, was that Rhodes goes in, takes the suit. First, he's able to bypass all the security, which
that's not really a problem though, because anybody who has the code. They show people walking in and out of his laboratory the entire time.
Yeah, and he had given all these people access, but then Fury calls him on it. Mm-hmm. Because the Black Widow, though she's never called the Black Widow, comes out and says, "Well, Tony Stark has all these multiple redundancies, so someone shouldn't be able to just go in and take it," implying that Tony Stark didn't have it taken, but in a way maneuvered Rhodes to think that he took it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's in the same way that he bequeathed his CEO-ship to Pepper Potts. It's probably what he was basically doing. Yeah,
it's kind of the old
Which is what he does in the comics. I mean,
yeah, but the problem is that the lines aren't drawn so well in the narrative of the film.
But in a way, I almost like
there's
that.
A lot of problems.
There's not a lot of spoon feeding, and I think people are used to things being, very like look at the Dark Knight. I know everyone loves the Dark Knight, but how many times do we have to have somebody say, "Oh, he's like the White Knight, and you're like the Dark Knight," and people trust him, and people don't trust. I mean, enough. We get it.
Right.
So it's just like I appreciate the fact that they didn't feel the need to hammer the point home. No pun intended. Thing. But I don't know. I think is Iron Man 2. The question shouldn't be, do you like Iron Man 2? Because I think if you don't like it, you're probably dead inside. But was Spider-Man 2... Spider-Man 2 was a much better movie than Spider-Man. I think most people agree with that.
Yeah.
Was Iron Man 2 the same as... the same relationship to Iron Man? I don't think so. I think Iron Man 2 delivered. It was fun.
Yeah.
But Iron Man 1 had so few flaws that Iron Man 2... I mean, what can you do to really make it that much better of a movie?
What you can do, and that brings me into... I mean, my first major flaw with Iron Man 2 was, the Terrence Howard, Don Cheadle thing. Mm-hmm. Second one... It all comes down to, in the very end, that Tony Stark is just the smartest guy in the movie. And he will always have better technology than anyone else. That fight at the end between him and Whiplash with War Machine was really... it was kind of anticlimactic because all Tony Stark had to do was pull out the better gun. And the bad guy never stood a chance against him.
Well, not really. He wouldn't have been able to do what he did without the fact that he basically did the move that they did in their fight.
Yeah, they beat him together.
No, I know, I understand
together.
That. But I'm just saying, it was just that he had the better technology. Well, he wasn't going up against someone who's smarter, because Justin Hammer was, as funny as he was, and as fun as the character that Sam Rockwell played was, he was kind of incompetent.
But it wasn't Justin Hammer's technology. It was really...
That's true. But, I mean, Hammer can't really be taken seriously as a threat because he's pretty much incompetent. And then you have the Mickey Rourke character who is supposed to be on a level with Tony Stark, but no matter what he does, his technology is always going to be, just still subpar to Tony Stark. So what you would do in an Iron Man movie, if you want to really up the stakes, is you got to put Tony Stark up against somebody who's smarter than him, who has better technology than him. So then that way, now Tony Stark really has to use some sort of creativity or imagination to be able to beat this guy. Because up to that point, it's just a matter of the writer saying, okay, now Tony Stark has this super awesome laser beam that he can wipe out all the droids with, at once.
Right.
But that's where, in part of the part where I call it bullshit.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Like, you couldn't just have them fight them all? You had to kill them all within one blow?
Exactly.
Like, that was kind of bullshit.
So I'm saying is like that's where the screenwriter goes, well, okay, now Iron Man's going to pull out another cool thing. Which, mind you, when that scene happened in the theater, everybody cheered and thought it was really cool. But then afterwards, you're like, Don Cheadle says, well, you should have just led with that.
Right.
Well, but I can only do it once.
Well, you still should have led with that.
Yeah, I could have led with that. Right.
Well, he should have saved. He obviously should have saved it for wiping out Whiplash, actually. So, but here's the thing. I don't really agree with the notion that it has to be somebody who's smarter in order to make it viable. Because if you look at the Batman Joker paradigm, Joker's not smarter than Batman. He's just more ruthless and more of a loose cannon. So you don't have to have somebody who's smarter or has better technology to make a good villain out of it. You just need somebody who's ruthless and willing to do whatever it takes. And to be fair, Whiplash was planning on blowing up and he did blow up the entire expo. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at it that way, like nobody died, nobody got killed, nobody got hurt in terms of the main characters, but he did lose this expo that's supposed to be going on perpetually for the entire year was decimated. So this legacy, this whole thing that he was like, the whole first part of the speech was that he wanted to leave this legacy and have this be for the people afterwards. That was all destroyed. So,
and if you think about it too,
maudlin about it.
Yeah, but in essence, like Whiplash beat him twice in that movie. Mm-hmm. There just wasn't any lasting effects to. Well, he died. Like Whiplash died, but I mean he beats him pretty much at the racetrack. The first scene,
right? Because he exposes him, right?
Right, and then he exposes him, and then he turns everybody against him.
What do you mean he exposes him?
Well, Stark would insist that no one else has that technology.
Oh, okay.
Then Whiplash on television,
okay.
And then comes out and says, "Hey, guess what? Somebody else has our technology."
So he contradicts what he had said. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, and I think the whole point, and the character even says it. He doesn't need to beat him, doesn't need to kill him. He just needs to make him bleed. That's the whole. I don't think he ever really intended to kill Tony Stark. I think he just wanted to make him suffer. And by making him suffer in the same way his family suffered, if you remember, he said, "Yeah, what you did to me, my family 40 years ago, would do you in the next 40 minutes."
But the second time, he meant to kill him.
Yeah, right,
So.
Right. See, and to me, the whole revenge of the slighted son, the son of the slighted partner,
the cliched.
Yeah, it's kind of cliched. I mean, when you have actors the level of Robert Downey Jr. and Mickey Rourke, there's so much more you can do with them. And I mean, can we have a film? I mean, I know people really hated this in Spider-Man 3. It was the only thing about Spider-Man 3 that I really liked.
The dance scene?
No, the reconciliation between the hero and the enemy. I actually like the fact that Peter Parker says
friends.
No, I'm talking about the Sandman.
Oh.
That
he's not a bad guy. He just made bad choices.
Pretty much. Yeah, I'm just saying, can we do that? Then I would have said, why not have Tony Stark go to Vanko, hey, you're pretty smart, come work for me, or something of that sort. I know that kind
because he'll do what he did to Hammer and just fuck him over to get ahead.
Yeah, but that Hammer was also an idiot, though. Hammer, I mean, the thing that, again, I enjoyed the Justin Hammer character a lot for that comic relief, but you really couldn't take him seriously as someone who's going to beat Tony Stark in anything.
Well, I think it was with the way that they wrote those two characters, that they were supposed to be different sides of the same coin.
Exactly, yeah. But
they did that on purpose.
I know, but again, Justin Hammer is not that competent. He builds flawed technology. It's not like you talk about the two sides of the same coin, Reed Richards and Dr. Doom. Both equally brilliant men.
No, actually,
Reed Richards is analytical, whereas Dr. Doom has such an ego, he won't admit he makes a mistake.
I don't mean him and Tony Stark. I mean him and Whiplash.
Okay, yeah.
Together
they
make a formidable enemy. Yeah, right. And that's why there were two villains in this movie.
I see.
Right,
I see.
You've got somebody who's got the ability financially to bankroll this, and you got somebody who's got the ability,
the brains
to do it. But they both have, one person wants to be Tony Stark, the other one should have been Tony Stark. His father says, that should have been you over there on that TV screen.
That's a good point.
I mean, to me, the thing about the movie that I got this feeling of whenever I watched Mickey Rourke on screen, I just got the feeling of like watching like a stallion like penned up in a pen. Like the director was probably just say this part, please, and just before you go apeshit. Like you just get the feeling that like Mickey Rourke's gonna go crazy at any moment. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy wanted to speak everything in Russian initially.
Right. He wanted it do it all in Russian with subtitles.
Yeah. So I give my hats off to Favreau for getting a performance out of him that was like it made sense.
Right.
I mean, because and the thing is, I mean, Mickey Rourke was cool that role. I mean, he didn't like put in a Heath Ledger level of performance, but he was a cool character. And people got to remember, Iron Man doesn't have a lot of it doesn't have like a really strong rogues gallery.
No.
So the fact that they're able to put two movies together that were enjoyable out of a character who really hasn't had any huge success in comics. I mean, everyone knows Iron Man, but he's never been like a number one character.
Speaking of which,
outside the last couple of years,
Invincible Iron Man 25 finally made it into the top 10. Month. I think it was number 8. It's the first time Invisible Iron Man has been in the top 10, I think.
See, and that was after the movies.
And we were talking about that in the review, which is, the Invincible Iron Man number 25 really seemed to co-opt a lot of the themes from. Mm-hmm. Did you see the all the credits, the comic book writers who were acknowledged in the credits? Matt Fraction,
and
John Byrne, Matt
and
Fraction.
Artists.
Notice the one who was missing? Yes, and artists. Bendis wasn't in there.
What the hell's Bendis? Has he written an Iron Man comic book?
Well, he's Mr. Marvel. He
didn't write. He hasn't written any good Iron Man stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Any
good stuff.
Any good stuff. Period.
I knew it. I love it. Yeah. I think it's a good movie. I don't know what people are talking about. If they don't like it, to each their own. But
before we came on camera, Avi spent a good 20 minutes preaching to me about how good Wild Wild West with Will
take
Smith
what
is.
This guy says with a grain of salt.
If you watch, go and watch.
Clear
your mind. I'm telling you, Wild Wild West is a much better movie than people give it credit for. You liked it, so don't even give me that crap. Because
I didn't love it. I thought it was all right.
You got that tattoo on your chest for it. What are you talking about? Yeah, and I think everyone knows that Jose doesn't really love anything. Everything's just
not
all
even
right.
himself.
Yeah.
Not even himself.
Especially
not myself.
Any further thoughts? Any final thoughts on Iron Man 2?
No, but I'd like to talk about Wild Wild West if you don't mind.
No. We're not going there.
Seriously, people, rent it.
Put it in your Netflix queue. Put it in your Netflix queue.
Indeed.
Stream it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, what would you have done to have improved this movie? I guess that's the most interesting thing, because you're a writer. Well, what do you think you would have done to have made this better? Aside from the fact that, keeping Terrence Howard on there.
I probably would have cleaned up the narrative just a little bit. I would have taken out the whole Tony Stark is dying bit. I would have taken that out. I would have replaced it with let's just face it. Tony Stark is a friggin' alcoholic, and he's struggling with the memories of his father.
See, now I have a problem with memory. The thing that I don't like about that, this is kind of touching on that new Robin Hood movie that's coming out, where there's things about his legacy with his father. You're a 4-year-old man. Stop having problems with your parents. Grown man, knock it off.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What you're saying, if people actually followed that, the entire therapeutic industry would it would crumble.
Listen,
we're talking. I know people way past their 40s who are still dealing with issues with their parents.
Get over it, people. I'll put it this way: if you're a millionaire playboy who has your own suit of armor, get over it. If you're a guy who works 9 to 5 and you're miserable, then you can have issues. But you're a multimillionaire billionaire with a sweet goatee and sweet armor.
My goatee's got to go.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that goatee. That's what I would change about that movie. That goatee's freaking me out. It's getting weirder and weirder every movie. He looks like a boy band guy. He looks like the guy from I don't know, one of those. I know there was a weird boy band guy that had like things on there. Anyway,
we'll close off on this. So we know Thor's next. It was setting up Thor. After that's going to be Captain America. Of course, the word on the street is Joss Whedon is doing the Avengers movie. With Joss Whedon directing the Avengers movie. And, of course, he's going to have to take a pass at the script, too. Joss Whedon doesn't direct anything that he doesn't also work on.
I wanted to ask you guys something, actually.
Yeah.
With the Iron Man movie and the Avengers thing. Do you guys think that they're setting up the fact that he's not going to be Iron Man in the Avengers movie?
That was going to be... I was wondering, is this a case where now they're thinking maybe not so much... Or he said he's a consultant.
And you can't afford me, which might be a metatextual thing of you really can't afford me in this movie.
Or they're just leaving it open. They're just leaving it open. Maybe Robert Downey Jr. thinks, maybe I don't want to do an Avengers movie.
Because weren't you saying that the way the movie works, they're signed up just to make movies? Like, he signed up for like 3 movies,
right?
Not necessarily Avengers or Iron Man. And maybe they're saying, hey, if we don't put him in Avengers, we can have him in Iron Man 3.
Right.
Let's not waste him in Avengers.
And they could just have Cheeto in the Avengers, because they may mention that they want the armor, but they don't want the man.
Right.
So they can maybe just have War Machine in it.
Or that could be the motivating plot, one of the subplots in the Avengers movie. All these things, these different issues with the different characters, and finally bringing them together to become the Avengers.
I'm not following you.
I'm just saying.
What do you mean? Like,
no, I'm just saying. You're not going to start off with the Avengers at the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah.
So you have to set up. You have to set up. No,
it should be like in Reservoir Dogs. They're all sitting around a diner, and they're talking about Madonna.
So Bendis is going to write this movie?
Yeah. Oh God.
That was pretty good.
God.
Zing. No, I think that's probably what's going to happen. They're going to say, okay, we want to make Iron Man 3. Let's not have him in Avengers. We'll have him maybe do like a little like cameo thing. I mean, I could be wrong, but
no, I'm just thinking what they're doing with this is they're going to make it. Every character in each movie is going to have some sort of issue that's going to be dealt with in the Avengers movie, and by the time you get to the Avengers movie, it ends with having the team. The
they
Avengers.
tell Thor you have to get your hair cut, and he's like, I won't do that barely. And then he finally decides that I'll put in a ponytail, and they make that compromise. It's going to be a wonderful movie.
I'm glad that they went with the 616 Thor as opposed to the Ultimates Thor for the movie.
What's the difference? Like trucker beard and no sleeves?
I think, pretty much. And the Thor Iron Man Free Comic Book Day issue,
I liked it.
Was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was pretty nice. I'm really looking forward to Matt Fraction working with Thor too. I had a feeling Thor was going to do really well under Matt Fraction's watch. So
what's that new Thor comic that's coming out? That's like a
Marvel Adventures, like a kids line.
No, that's not a Marvel Adventures one. It's
it is a Marvel Adventures one. It's written for kids. It's a young reader's Thor. That's the one you're talking about.
I don't think that's what I'm talking about.
So anyway, watch Wild Wild West because Avi's never wrong.
I'm just saying. I think it's a much maligned movie. People would probably enjoy it if they gave it half a chance. The marketing was terrible. But
there we go. Okay.
No one's got my back.
Let's end Jose's suffering here. All right, thanks, folks, for joining us. As always, we look forward to your comments, your feedback. Check this out on the CCW TV blog, where these videos will also be posted and give you lots of freedom to comment. And, of course, whenever you comment, we read each and every one. And, hey, the movie, you know what? Good movie. Tell your friends, go out and see it. This is really the kind of movie where you're going to have fun with it. And, just
take your grandma to go see it?
Don't nitpick it to death. Oh.
But would you, though?
Do you have home video of your grandma that you watch late at night as you drink and go through her diary?
But she did leave me blueprints that helped me make a new element.
A new element?
Yeah.
Really? That was the other thing. Why would Howard Stark design a new element and not make it himself?
He didn't have the technology.
He didn't have the technology.
He was limited by the technology.
He pretty much came out and said it.
Yeah.
I'm limited by my technology, but not by imagination.
So are we going to finally end this fucking video, or are you just going to keep rambling?
But also...
Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah.